Proposition 19 changes certain property tax rules. So let's read the fine print here. So the quick summary is this. This allows homeowners who are over 55, disabled, or wildfire disaster victims to transfer primary residence tax base to replacement residence. Changes taxation for for family property transfers. That's a key thing, and establishes fire protection services fraud. Fiscal impact. Local governments could gain tens of millions of dollars of property tax revenue per year, probably growing over time to a few. I'm going to say probably, I want to flag that, probably growing over time to a few $100 million per year. Schools could receive similar property tax gains. Okay, so this particular measure on the ballot, this directly relates to Proposition 6090, which affects those that are over the age of 55, regardless. I want to reiterate really quickly that if you are the age of 55 or older, do not let Proposition 19 freak you out, because you are already protected under Proposition 6090. I just want to make this really clear. So your yes vote means, a yes vote means that all homeowners, regardless of your age, all homeowners who are over 50, who are over 55, or who meet the qualifications, meaning you can be younger than 55, you can be 32 years old and a wildfire disaster victim, right? All homeowners who are over 55 or who meet the qualifications would be eligible for property tax savings when they move. Only inherited properties used as primary homes or farms would be eligible for property tax savings. A no vote means that only some homeowners who are over 55 or who meet the qualifications would continue to be eligible for the property tax savings when they move. So one of the key things about about this particular proposition, I actually spoke to my neighbor who is a real estate agent and broker, and has been working within the real estate industry for over 40 years. I had a long conversation with her about this particular measure, and one of the things that is really important to me is my parents have lived in their property for over 30 years. Now, they are at a certain tax base because they purchased their home 30 years ago. And for those folks who are at a certain tax level, that tax base, you get to pass that down to your kids. This, if you vote yes on this, you no longer are able to pass that tax base down to your children. They will not inherit that same tax base, that 30-year-old tax base, which is like at $4,000 as opposed to $15,000, which is what current market value would be. Instead, your child, when they inherit that home, would have to pay, if this vote passes, they would have to then pay on that higher tax base. That is what that is saying. That's one part of this thing. The other part is that it does open it up to other issues in terms of wildfire disaster victims, right? So we know that in the great state of California, at some point, it's gonna catch on fire because global warming is real. And every single year for the past 5 years, at least, that we can think of, I mean, I know for sure for the past 5 years, California literally has caught on fire. We have driven on the 405, we have seen the flames, it's right there.
We're by fire yesterday.
It was on fire yesterday. I mean, wasn't it like literally last month where we couldn't even go outside for like 2 weeks because of so much? We had a blood moon, not because there was something going on with the moon, because there was so much smoke and ash in the sky, right?
San Francisco was orange. It was orange.
So wildfires are real. But if you're a Californian and you don't have fire insurance, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you need fire insurance. That's just, that's the thing. And so one of the things that we also did talk about was, is this a way for those who Is this a way for those who have secondary homes? We did talk about in Malibu, there was like 2 years ago, right, when Malibu caught on fire and all those billion dollar homes burned down and stuff. And it's like, oh my goodness, they now, what are they going to do? Blah, blah, blah. They have fire insurance. They're going to go buy another home, because if you could afford a $15 million house in Malibu, trust me, you got fire insurance. Like, come on. So should they be able, should those that have those types of, are they going to take that tax base and transfer it just because they feel like utilizing the lower tax base? And so this is a scheme where those who are in a wealthier tax bracket can kind of get around paying a lower tax. That is really what's on the ballot. I don't but it also does allow for exclusivity for those who actually are being honest, who aren't being fraudulent. So there's this one is a toss up for me. I want to know how you guys feel.
I wish that there weren't so many pieces bundled together on this one.
It's a handbill.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kids are a long way off for me. I don't personally have, other family property in California to pass down, not that I would be expecting. So, those are not obviously immediate concerns for me in the same way that they are for Angelica.
But you own your house.
But I do own my house. Yes, but I do own my house. So even though I don't have kids and I'm not expecting kids, there is a prospect that eventually I will have children, to pass what I've accumulated in my lifetime, onto them. And, honestly, as much as we want to end generational wealth or at least scale back on generational wealth for the uber wealthy, for people who have, who are in that extreme rarefied 1%er class, the reality is that the number one way still in the middle class to transfer generational wealth is through land. And that has not changed for the other 98% of us. So this is a tough one, and I don't think it's going to be so much of a gotcha for the rich folks, as it might potentially, have an effect on middle income, families, or even, that great American dream. You start up from nothing, you get a house eventually that goes to your kids who have gone to college, and then within 3 generations, you're in the middle class. Like that, what some might call a pipe dream, I will just say it's still, what other alternative do we have right now, other than that, that pipe dream? So tough one. And it's packed in with some feel good stuff about, fire prevention and safety.
That's why I wanted to ask you, just because I was very confused first. Then I was torn because I asked my parents, who are 64 and 65, and they immediately were like, no. And I asked them why, and they were still confused. So I had to really dive deep into this one. Then it's half of the people are not like I'm letting people persuade me. I just wanted to try and understand what everybody else was thinking too. But everybody else is saying yes. Oh yeah. This is great. I really am not sure. I'm probably not going to be sure until the night I mail this thing out. But yeah, I really wanted to know someone else's opinion. I'm not so much more confused as when I started, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
For me, what Heather said, I hate a ham bill where they just pack so many different things that feel related, but are not actually related, because I have an opinion on the wildfire while I have an opinion on being able to build generational wealth. And the wildfires, that's exactly what they are. They're wild. We have no idea where they're going to start. They can be in a rich area. They can be in the poorest area. Do I feel that because it is affecting someone who may be wealthy, that they cannot then have what they already built? Because in all fairness, they did have this property for 25, 30 years, and they are at a certain base bracket. Is it then fair to say, well, because you are wealthy, you'll get over it, you can go buy another property and start at that price. It doesn't matter what the base price was that you built all this time. So I find that to be a little unfair in the bill. But on the other hand, if we're ever going to have generational wealth, the interests that you have built for your family have to be able to be passed down. And if it is as Angelica said, an $11,000 difference, then I can completely understand why my father immediately said no. My stepmother immediately said no. And I can understand why.
Okay. So this is saying, should we allow for people who are younger than 55? Should we allow for wildfire disaster victims, but at the cost of removing your right to pass down your property to your child? So, which when all you got is land, like when you don't have funds and all you have is land, as Heather said, like, is it worth giving that up? For me, no. For me, no. But you know, if you're not a homeowner, if your family's not a homeowner, then I understand. If you live in an area where you know that there's wildfires, you're in your 30s or 40s, and you need to move, you need to transfer your tax base, I get why you would want a yes vote. But for me, this is a no.
Yeah, just really quickly. I agree with you. I think it's a lot to pack in on one measure. Um, However, for me, the bottom line is, the generational wealth, the ability to build wealth. And as I'm not currently a homeowner, but I intend on buying a home before the next election, right? And then the other thing is, who's to say that the next election is actually going to have another measure like this, right? So now is the opportunity to, make my voice heard, and I vote no because again, I intend on being a homeowner, and I do believe in generational wealth building, and land is definitely one of those ways. So that's my answer. Short story.
Thank you, Michelle.